I think I have uncovered the most shocking example of our broken asylum system. It is Kiln Court in Faversham in Kent. It used to be a care home for local elderly residents, but it was closed down because apparently there was a lack of public funding. But we've got all the money in the world for illegal immigrants. Now it's being turned into a centre for unaccompanied asylum seeker children, but they're not really just children. They're allegedly 16 and 17-year-olds, all male, and they're allowed to roam free until their 10 p.m. curfew. But here's the problem, OK? Look at Kiln Court on the map there. It is 100 yards away from a primary school. On the other side of that primary school is a nursery school. There is a secluded alleyway here with little to no CCTV or lighting. A combination of elderly people and people with young families live in those houses just there, with just flimsy wooden fences for protection. And at the side of the nursery school is a wooded area with no CCTV and a patch of grass where children from the local housing estate play during school holidays and at weekends. You will also be able to see Little Rosebud's childcare centre on the other side of it there. In what is an extremely competitive field of ludicrous locations for asylum centres, this one is by far the worst I've come across. On Saturday, I went to Kiln Court to speak with the locals. This man is worried about the safety of his 4-year-old boy for the reasons he's about to outline.
My little boy, obviously, he's autistic, suffers with a bit of anxiety, and that unfamiliar faces and things, obviously, are going to be a thing for him. You're going to get congregations from him outside the school, because that's where they live. They're going to congregate about outside and stuff. And my main concern is, when I'm at work and my missus and kids are at home and they're in bed at the early hours of the morning at 4:30 when I get up for work, I'm going to be worried while not being around in this area. I'm going to be worried for their safety. They're going to be worried all the time. Not knowing these people, where they're from, why they're here, it's morally wrong in the way they're housing them in these built-up areas, like around schools, around like communities with small children.
A secluded alleyway is used as a cut-through for mums and their young children. It leads straight to the nursery school and some woodland. I spoke to Julie, whose house actually backs on to this alleyway.
I don't think CCTV would help because there's no police presence in the town, so what would you actually do? And it's mums and dads bring their children. But that's every day. You know, I mean, it's not safe. It's not safe for them to be walking up and down here. I mean, we get enough trouble in this alleyway as it is, with kids and youths chucking things over the fence and everything. And the fact that they're going to be just literally round the corner and be allowed out to 10 o'clock at night, it's just a worry about what's going to actually happen. I mean, I used to actually work in Kiln Court for social services for Kent County Council, and it was a thriving community for 30 residents from Faversham. I think the community of Faversham is going to suffer, basically, and the town is going to change, and I don't think that's fair on any of us that have lived here nearly all our lives.
Yeah, fair enough. The alleyway leads into some woodland and then onto a playing field. And locals like Tony are concerned that young men from war-torn countries will be hanging around here and what that means for the safety of the wider community.
So my question would be, really, is if they have come in illegally, then why are they allowed to roam the streets until 10 o'clock at night? And who's to say they're going to be back in there by 10 o'clock at night? I think from what we can tell, that the security, the staffing of the centre is going to be fairly minimal. So, you know, how's that going to accommodate 16 to 17-year-old lads, post-pubescent young men, aren't they? They're not children. The councils keep referring to them as children, but in actual fact they're not. They're not 7, 8 years old. So I think that's a concern of a lot of people, really. The fact that we just weren't told anything about it. The council, that's the county council, first of all, allegedly have sent letters out, which I'm sure they have, but I don't know anybody that's had one.
Well, the locals walked with me from the school site there, which you can see, to the asylum centre. And it's like 100 yards, all right? It's probably less than 100 yards, actually. And that soon-to-be asylum centre used to be the care home for the local elderly people. But it's clear they're not as much of a priority anymore as illegal immigrants.
They're going to turn it into a home for illegal immigrants that shouldn't even be in our country, saying that they can't afford to do it up for our elderly. I'm sorry, our elderly come first. And then they're going to put it right next to a school. So we've got to worry about our children, we've got to worry about our little children and our young ladies. Not only that, we've got to worry about our elderly in the community that have lived here all their lives, and all the money is going to illegals that really should be tagged when they come in the country. They're illegally in the country, put a tag on them, and then we know where they are and what they're up to.
Yeah, but apparently, if these asylum seekers abscond, look, don't worry, OK? Just don't worry at all, because they'll be reported to the police and a multi-agency response will track them down. There is a slight problem here.
No one knew about this until United Reform put a leaflet through our doors. And no, it can't be allowed to go ahead. We've got to protect. We've got no police presence in Faversham. They closed down our police station and turned it into a museum.
Yeah, so the local police station is now a museum. The local MP, Helen Whatley, just doesn't seem to care. We reached out to her. She said this: the centre is an operational decision for Kent County Council, but they have a duty to provide accommodation. However, we are pressing for answers to local concerns and supporting KCC's call for an effective national transfer scheme which will ease the burden on Kent. We reached out to her again today and we said, look, this is really bad. Local people are turning against you over this. Her team responded and said she has nothing further to add. And local resident Ryan felt the local community had been totally disregarded.
I feel like if you're passing something like that, it's almost like you're obscuring the truth, and you don't want people to have a say, because what you're doing is, when something's legally right and you're going through the channels, okay, it might be legally, but there is a moral obligation that you should be actually looking and thinking, is this going to be suitable for the people or is it going to be suitable for them? Because you've got to look at the both parties, but clearly that hasn't been done. They've just passed it under and said, right, we've ticked the box exercise, and that's just lazy work.
Kent County Council stands accused of doing its best to avoid letting local people know this is happening. In fact, local Faversham councillor, the Liberal Democrat Andy Hook, even said that he was glad that it was being put to good use. Look, it is absolute, complete and utter 100% madness to put a group of unaccompanied, virile young lads who have illegally crossed an entire continent and broken into Britain in an insecure centre within touching distance of children and vulnerable adults. This is a disaster waiting to happen.